You're watching Community Spotlight with Dr. Angie Eugene, where we showcase leaders making an impact in our community. Now here's your host, Dr. Angie Eugene.
Hello everyone, thank you all so much for being here today. I'm Dr. Angie Eugene, founder of Trinity Vision Global, and today we are going to give you all some inside knowledge. I am here with Mr. Ben Francis, and we're going to explain to you today what is wrong with the web and some solutions to fix it. So thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate you having me talk to your viewers at Southeast Linux Fest 2017. The conference is wrapping up, and I gave a presentation on what is wrong with the web. I called the presentation Web 3.0, and what I'm getting at is the web is fundamentally broken as we're using it today due to design decisions that were made long time ago. In 1972, a program called FTP was written, and due to the way it was designed, that led to some design decisions that Tim Berners-Lee made in 1989 that ended up with the web being a stateless protocol. And in layman's terms, that means that it allows for security vulnerabilities to creep in to that protocol because of its stateless nature. And it doesn't have to be that way, but we are going to have to re-engineer the web to be much safer than it is today. And that project that is doing that is called the SEIF Project, SEIF, pronounced safe. It's sponsored by PayPal and Douglas Crockford. He works for PayPal, and he has introduced the SEIF protocol as the way to fix the web, and that's what we're going to try to accomplish with that project.
Okay, so after 20 years of the web being around, so why does this problem still exist?
Great question. We've had the web for 20 years, as you say, and we've had numerous opportunities to fix it. Oracle, Microsoft have tried to fix it. They both provided better technologies than we have today, but they were proprietary technologies because those companies tried to own the web and just keep it for themselves because that was the profit motive. What's different about what Douglas Crockford's SEIF project is trying is that the project is an open source software project. What we're talking about. I
keep hearing that word, open source, a lot this weekend.
Right, and what open source is it's the opposite of what you get when you go out to Best Buy and buy shrink wrap software that you just install on your computer. When you do that, let's say you buy Microsoft Office and you install that, you do not get the source code with that program. So what you get is what you get, and you cannot modify it at all because you're not getting the source code. Open source, the open source idea is if you write a program, you give away the source code for that program so that your users of the program can actually, if they're technically minded and actual programmers, then they can go in and change that source code, recompile the program, and then you have extra features. So the user is in charge of the software, not the company that made it.
Okay. So it gives you more freedom, flexibility.
That is exactly it. Yes, and
I'm learning.
Yeah, and what we like to say is that the freedom. A lot of times, open source software is free to use, as in money, but we like to say that it's freedom as in liberty, not free as in beer. So yes, even you can pay money for an open source program, and that helps the developer of the program, but the freedom is in getting the source code and being able to change it to meet your specific operating requirements.
Okay, so how would someone looking go about obtaining open source software?
Well, it's freely available on the World Wide Web for just about every use case. I just gave a talk on the Jitsi video bridge, which allows you to live stream an interview like this, and that software allowed the live stream to go straight to YouTube, and your software, your this interview right here would just be captured by YouTube, and really no resources on the user were really required. So that is just one example of what you can do with open source software.
Okay. Any additional information you'd like to share with our viewers? Anything that comes to mind? Yeah,
well, I've talked about how the web is broken today, and how the SEIF Project is trying to fix that. And we're in the really early stages of that project. It's not something your users can go and download right now. The protocol is done, so if you're technically gifted and are a programmer, you can go to GitHub and just search for SEIF, the SEIF protocol, and you'll find it, and you can download it because it's open source, and check out the protocol and actually use the software that Douglas Crockford and PayPal have created for everyone's use. So I encourage the programmers out in the audience to do that. The other project, other piece of software that's on GitHub that they will want to use is called SeifNode, SEIFNODE, and that is basically a JavaScript library that contains all the cryptographic functions that are needed to make a secure web.
Okay. Give us that one more time. SeifNode.
SeifNode is one piece of the project. Has all the cryptography, and the protocol itself is just the SEIF protocol. And those two projects are complete and on GitHub right now as version 0.
Okay, so do you have like a website where, or somewhere people can, if they're interested in what you're saying or they need more information on what you're telling us, they can find more information on?
Yes, the website for the SEIF project is at www.seif.place.
SEIF.place.
Right. It's not a regular .com website like most people are used to, but that address will take you there. It's http://safe www.seif.place.
SEIF.place. All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angie. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you all so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. We are here at the Southeast Linux Fest, and today you're going to get more than just software. We're going to teach you guys the basics of knitting and crocheting, the different kind of needles, the different kind of yarn. I'm here with Cathy, and this is Hannya, and we're going to teach you just a couple of basics. So take it away, Cathy.
Okay, well, in knitting and crochet, you have different types of needles that you're knitting, or hooks, which is used for crocheting. You only use one hook when you're crocheting. You use 2 needles when you're knitting. And they make very different fabrics. Both of them can make very open fabrics. Both of them can make very tight fabrics. But there's a little bit of difference between the looks. Yarn comes anywhere from what we call a cobweb, which is a very tiny yarn. It's used for shawls, maybe even hand, mitts, things like that. But what I have in my hand today is a sock weight yarn. So it's a little bit thicker than
to make socks.
To make socks. And then you can go all the way up to a rope. You can go all the way up to a rope like yarn, very thick, that you can use, and you can arm knit as well.
Wow. Okay.
Without using any needles. But what I have, the thickest I have today is what they call a worsted weight. And that's this thickness, which is great for sweaters, for hats, as well as for shawls, for hand warmers. You can use this yarn to make yourself a pair of slippers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As well. Not only do yarns come in different weights, they come in different fabrics. So you have acrylic, which a lot of people are familiar with when you're in Walmart or Joann's or Michael's, you'll see mostly acrylics. Well, there's also a wool, which come from the sheep. They even make it so that it's a washable, machine washable wool. You also get your wool from camel. You can get it from alpacas and llamas as well. You can also get it from bison, and that's called quivet. Your yarns can range anywhere from $1 for one skein, all the way up to $100 and some for a skein.
Wow.
Your quivet, because it's harder to gather, people have to go along behind and just gather it off the ground. You can't necessarily walk up to a bison and, shear them
Okay.
like you can your other animals. It does not hurt the sheep to shear them. I know a lot of people think that sheep are murdered or killed to be sheared. Not anymore. And actually, when they shear sheep now, it's not as harmful to the sheep. It's actually very good for the sheep. Okay. So I'm going to just show you how to cast on for crochet, and I'll show you how to get started with that.
Okay.
So you have to make your slip knot. This is called the tail end of your yarn. The tail of your yarn can be as long as you may need it or as short as you may need it.
Okay.
When you're crocheting, you don't need a lot of tail. You lay it over your working yarn, which is attached to your ball of yarn.
Okay.
And then you fold that loop, fold it in half, and pick up your working yarn and pull it through.
Okay.
And then you make your little knot. You slide your loop on there and just pull it.
Okay.
Okay? I'm right-handed, so I'm going to be working from my right hand. You just take and you wrap your yarn around and through.
Okay.
Okay, so wrap it around your needle and pull it through the loop on the needle.
Okay.
And you do this until you have a chain of what you need.
Okay.
Okay, so once you get as many loops as you need for your chain or for whatever you're going to make, then to continue, you go back into the first loop and you pull that through and pull it through both of them. And do this once or twice more, and then you go to your next loop in your chain and do it again.
Okay. So a lot of repetition.
It's just a lot of repetition. Okay. Of course, different patterns will call for different ways to do it, and they will have, if you learn to read a pattern, it'll say DC, that's a double chain, or SC, which is a single chain, and there's a lot more abbreviations. You learn the abbreviations so that you don't have to spell it all the way out, all the way through your pattern.
Okay.
Okay. So then to knit, the way I teach knitting is a knitted cast on. So I'm going to kind of do this with what I've already got on the needles here. You make your slip knot and you slip it on your needle and you give it a little tug. You take the needle that has the yarn on it and put it in your left hand. Again, I'm a right-handed knitter, so this is how this works for me.
Okay.
For a left-handed knitter or a continental knitter, it'll be a little different. And you can go to YouTube or knittinghelp.com.
Knittinghelp.com.
And YouTube, just type in continental knitter, beginning knitting, and there's wonderful videos to show you how to do those, just like on knittinghelp.com, or go find your local yarn shop and help them out, and they'll help you out.
Okay.
So to knit, we've done the slip knot and we've put it on the needle. A lot of people will tell you not to count that as your first stitch, and others will say count it as a first stitch. Count it as your first stitch. There's no use in doing all that work and not use it. Okay. So once you've done that, you take the needle that's empty and you slide it between the knot and the needle, and you go under the bottom needle and over the top.
Okay.
Okay, and then you pull it back through that loop while you hold on to your yarn. So you don't let that fall off your needle yet.
Okay.
Once you've made that stitch, you take your left needle, you go around behind and slide that stitch on there, and now you have 2 stitches.
Okay.
You continue to do that. You continue to do that until you have as many stitches on there as you need or as you want. I'll do it one more time so that everybody can see it again. So you put your needle into the front stitch, you bring it up and around,
Okay.
and you pull it back. Whoops, I think I even messed up. Around, pull it back through, pull it out a little bit so you can get it back on that left needle, and that's 3 stitches now.
Okay.
Now to start making your rows so that it looks kind of like this, you wrap your yarn just as you were to make your stitch. You pull it through just as you were to make your stitch, but instead of pulling this out and bringing your needle behind, you slide the stitch off the left needle.
Okay.
And you do that for every stitch until you get to the end of your row. And then you'll switch your needles around and do it again
Okay.
until you have the fabric you want.
Okay.
And just as crochet, your knitting pattern is abbreviated. So you'll see K3, that means knit 3. P3 means purl 3. And then there's lots of other abbreviations. And they alternate between countries. So like a yarn over for us, the English will call it yarn around instead of yarn over.
Okay.
And a yarn over just makes a nice little hole in the fabric, which makes it look lacy and pretty.
Okay. How long would it take you to make a sock, a pair of socks?
A pair of socks can take me anywhere from 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, depending on if it has a design or not in it. It just depends on how long I work on it as well.
Okay. So people watching, the viewers, they would say, why spend 2 to 3 weeks making a pair of socks as opposed to just going out and buying? What other benefits are there to knitting?
Well, the benefits for knitting are keep your mind active, believe it or not. Make a lot of new friends. Believe it or not, you do. Knitters are pretty friendly people.
Okay.
They love to be talked to about what they're working on. They love to share what they're doing. The reason to make a pair of socks is because you can't go out and buy what I'm making.
All right.
It doesn't matter if I make 3 or 4 pair of socks out of this yarn. Each pair is going to be different. Each pair is going to be a different looking. And that's the joy. It's just like a shawl. I could do the same shawl pattern over and over and over again, and it'll look different every time, just because we're all humans. So nothing we do is perfect, but you may not see the difference, or you may not see the mistake that's there. That's what makes each piece unique and different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right. So any other information you would like to share?
Well, again, look for your local yarn shop. Go in. The yarn in your local yarn shop is going to cost you a little bit more.
Okay.
But that's because more than likely it's 100% wool rather than 20% wool, 80% acrylic. It's nothing wrong with what Joann's and Michael sells. If you can't afford what your local yarn shop has, then by all means, buy what you can afford and make beautiful things with your hands.
Okay.
Because people appreciate that. You're putting your love into it.
Yes.
And people appreciate that more than if you went out and bought them something.
Right. Okay, so people who just started out, what are you making over here?
A small little swatch of, I think, 4 or 5 rows. I just started.
Okay,
So-
this is Hannya again, and she's just started. So when did you actually start? Yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
And Kathy
Yes.
taught me how to somewhat follow this
Pattern. Uh-huh.
So that's what I'm trying, as she was explaining to you earlier.
Right.
That's basically what I'm trying to remember and do.
Right. Okay. So for people who just started out and they get frustrated with what they're doing, or they mess up, or it's okay for them to just start over.
Yeah, it's okay to rip it out and start over. Those of us who've been knitting for a long time do it all the time.
Oh, okay.
You know,
So don't feel bad.
Don't feel bad. Now, of course, if it's not something too bad, we can usually figure out how to fix it.
Uh-huh.
But if you're having a problem, again, find your local yarn shop, go to Ravel.
So there's some of these yarn shops, or do they offer any kind of local classes, or do
Yes.
they
A lot of yarn shops offer classes, or if you walk in and say, I've dropped a stitch, I don't know what to do, or I've done something, I can't figure it out, they'll help you with it. A lot of them are just, friendly as they can be. A lot of them have a knit night, or they let you just come in and sit and knit anytime they're open. And if you can find those yarn shops, those are the ones you want to go to. Can I do a plug for one?
Yeah.
Charlotte Yarns here in Charlotte is a wonderful shop. She has a little something for everybody, and if you walk in, somebody there will help you.
Nice.
They are, I'm not from here. I'm from Virginia.
Okay.
But when we started coming here for the Linux
Right.
Fests, I found her shop and went in, and they were just open and warm, and
Yes.
and it seemed like if you walked in with a problem, anybody was willing to help, whether they worked there or not.
Wow.
So if you can find somebody, then that's the way to go. Let them teach you how to do that. But again, if you're on your own, it's a holiday, or you're not in an area
Right.
go ahead. Don't worry about ripping it out. Rip it out and try again. That's
Okay.
how you learn.
Okay.
Ravelry, RAVELRY.com is another great place to go. It's free to join, and they have loads of knitters on there who can answer questions. You can find free patterns. You can just get all kinds of great things from there.
Okay. Wonderful. Any go ahead.
I've been encouraged by the ladies that have come to this conference so far. I mean, I've met a quilter along with Cathy, who's a knitter, and a lady who does loom knitting. And
What's loom knitting?
it's knitting, but in a form of a circle.
Okay.
And she explained it wonderfully.
Nice.
Her name, I believe, was Monica. I don't remember her last name, but this was a project that's been coming on and off, Cathy, of coming along with the conference.
Right. Last year we did a knitting track.
Okay.
But one of the ladies couldn't be here this year, so we took a year off thinking it wasn't that popular. Well, we found out throughout the weekend that everybody was wondering why there wasn't a knitting track this year. So we will be doing a knitting track here next year.
Okay. Sign me up for that. I'll
Well,
try.
you should.
That's basically how my husband encouraged me to bring my
Right.
needles that I had just recently gotten passed down
Okay.
from my mother-in-law. So this, like I was telling Cathy, this is a trade that I would like to learn and love as much as she has.
Keep some the tradition going.
So
Okay.
I'm encouraged by
Good.
all the sources that she's given me and the other lady has given me, and I think there were 2 more today that came along.
So it's safe to say that you're going to stick with it.
Yes. And even if I do get frustrated, like
Right.
she said, put it aside for a time and then start all over.
Okay.
For now, I'm just wanting to learn the square patches or start small.
Okay.
And
So that's
see
a
where that would
basic.
take me.
So that's a basic.
Yes,
what
this
you
is
do.
what she was
Right.
saying.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
So
Okay.
I'm encouraged.
Good. And it's important to have people around you that is supportive and encouraging.
Now, the loom knitting that she was talking about, it is done on an actual circle that has pegs on it.
Okay.
And it's great for people who may have arthritis or problems with their
you don't
hands
have
or
to
the
hold the little
ribs.
needles.
Right.
Okay.
They don't have to hold any needles
Okay.
because these are done with pegs.
Okay.
And you just wrap those pegs and move the yarn over, the bottom yarn over the top yarn and on over the peg to the back. But they have come a long way with the loom knitting.
Okay.
There's a lot more patterns out there for the looms than there used to be.
Okay.
So if you have problems with your hands or your wrists and you can't hold a needle or it's not comfortable for you to crochet or knit, then loom knitting is the way to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.